We'll plan on starting in probably 2 or 3 minutes. Did everyone see the news about the NBA retiring the number 6 for all teams going forward? Apparently, everyone who currently wears number 6 is grandfathered in, but pretty interesting development. Welcome, everyone. We're just quickly running through the NBA news from earlier that the number 6 will be retired going forward. Everyone who's wearing it today can finish out their career. Obviously, the big one is LeBron James. Pretty interesting. But we'll get going in just a minute here. Hopefully, everyone can see the screen that I'm sharing. And just in terms of process, the office hours channel here. If you have questions or anything you want to talk through in particular, fire away in the office hours channel. It's way more fun for me and way more interesting for all of you if people are asking questions. So I don't just drone on in a monotonous way as I tend to do. And so any questions at all, this is a great opportunity to do it. And we'll be running through listing loans, funding loans, what all the terminology means and how it all works. And hopefully that'll be a useful overview for people. We are recording the session, and so yeah. So we'll give it 30 more seconds, and then we can kick off. And to everyone who has joined, thank you very much. Once my clock hits 4:03, we'll kick it off. All right, here we go. So first things first, Grasslow, if you don't mind sharing the link for the float. Everyone, please go ahead and click the link that Grasslow just shared into the office hours channel. Grab this float. There are a few interesting tools coming out in the Flow ecosystem that will allow us as a platform to reward float holders. And so, as we always say during our office hours and our previous teach-ins, we appreciate people spending their time with us in these types of classes and teach-ins. And so, we don't have specific or structured plans around rewarding float holders, but just know it is a great signal to us that you've been supporting the platform. You take time out of your day to support us, to learn more about Flowty, and we do appreciate that. So grab that float. If anyone has any questions about it and how it works, just post them in the office hours channel, and we can begin. So hopefully you can see the screen that I'm sharing here. Can everyone see that? Does anyone have any issues seeing this? Is it frozen for anyone? If so, just post away. Hopefully you can see this. But when you first navigate to the Flowty platform, this is what you'll see. If you want to follow along, I'll drop in a link into the office hours, and I think it would be helpful for people to follow along. So the first step as you get to the platform is you want to connect your third-party wallet. And so to do that, you go to our handy Connect Wallet button. Now, if you don't have a third-party wallet set up, this is going to prompt you to set up a brand new wallet. And so you would click Connect Wallet. It would ask you for an email address, and then you would create a new wallet. And it's a very, very straightforward process. We applaud the Blockdo and Lilico teams for making it as easy as it is. We're not going to go through that as part of this session. If you have questions about that, ask away, and we can provide guidance in the chat. But for now, I'm going to power through that. I'm going to click Connect Wallet here. I'm going to go ahead and do Lilico, and I'm going to confirm. I've logged in previously, so I don't need to do anything regarding 2FA or passwords or anything like that, but please make sure you do activate two-factor authentication for any of your third-party wallets. There's a lot of scams and theft in the ecosystems. So first things first, this is our landing page, and this shows a little bit of an overview of how it works. This how it works section is actually focused on our loan feature rather than our rental feature. So it's a high level overview of how the product works. And we're not going to spend too much time there because that's the purpose of this teach-in. This, as we scroll down, are recently listed loans. These are loans that have recently been added to the marketplace that users can fund, and you can click right in from here. These are recently funded loans. So these are loans that were posted in the marketplace that were funded by other users. And we'll talk through exactly what that means and the terminology and all of that. But this is just a bit of an early overview. Bullfrogger, welcome in, one of our mods. If you want to get any documentation, real long form documents to learn more about all these processes in a greater level, you can click here. We have a loan primer and we have a frequently asked questions that are available through these two links. And actually we have an FAQ up here. You can go to loans or rentals. And that is an overview of the landing page. So I'm not going to spend too much time there unless anyone has any questions. And as I indicated before, fire away with any questions at any time. I'm not going to come up for air for designated Q&A time. It should be flowing. Just fire away at any time. Hockey substitution style. So all the action for loans takes place in the marketplace. The view you see here is the marketplace with the loan designation. If you want to see rentals or do rentals, you click rentals here and we'll present rentals at that point. But today we're focused on loans. So the first thing we're going to go through is you own a moment and you want to take out a loan. So the most important things to talk through here are why you would want to take out a Flowty loan instead of selling your asset or doing anything else with your asset. And the answer is the primary use case that we find from our users is that you own an NFT, you own a Top Shot moment, and you want to access liquidity, but you don't want to sell that underlying moment. You say, I like this moment, it has a special serial to me, I want to own it long term because I think the price is going to go up. For any reason at all, you don't want to sell that moment, but you need liquidity today, and you have this marketable asset, this tool that you can use to access liquidity. And so the first step in order to list a loan on the Flowty platform is you need to move your Top Shot moment from Top Shot to a third-party Blockto wallet. Now, we have support, we have videos, we have documentation on exactly how to do that. So we're not going to cover that here. The easiest place to learn about that is in the FAQ channel. So I'll link to it in the chat down here. The third question in the FAQ tells you exactly how to move moments from your Top Shot wallet to your third-party wallet. Again, we're not going to cover that here. One more item that I'm going to post in the chat is that we have an article kind of why you would borrow on Flowty rather than sell. And I think that's a very, very useful article for users. So I'm going to drop it in here. It's called Use Cases for Borrowers. And the primary use case, again, is really, really simply, I need liquidity. I don't want to sell my asset. You may not want to sell your asset because you love it, your sentimental value. Also importantly, it might be for tax reasons. You might want to just hedge your portfolio. There's a lot of different use cases. I encourage you to read through that article. Now, you've decided you want to use Flowty to take out a loan. How do you actually do that? So you've accomplished the first thing you want to do. You move a moment from the Top Shot platform to a third party or a Blockto wallet. And then what you do is you navigate to the marketplace. You make sure you're within loans and you make sure your crypto wallet is connected up here. If it's not connected, you will see connect wallet. If it is, you'll see a wallet address up here and you click new loan. The first step of the loan process is you pick which NFT from your inventory, which is popping up now, you want to take out a loan against. So here's an OG and an OB for you Raptors fans out there, Jurassic Park moment, and I want to use that as my collateral. Now, importantly, what does that mean? What does it mean when I say I want to use this as collateral? I want to take out a loan against this. The idea of that is that you take out a loan, and if you don't, as the borrower, repay that loan, the lender actually will receive this NFT from you. You will lose this NFT. And the reason we do that, the reason Flowty is built in that way, is that the lender needs some sort of assurance that you as the borrower are going to repay them. And so the collateral acts as an incentive for you to repay your loan. Essentially, if you don't repay your loan, then you lose your underlying NFT. From the lender's perspective, if they don't get their money back, they get the NFT. And so the NFT itself is a really important component of the transaction, and actually is something that you should think through when you're sizing your loan. If you know you want to borrow $200, that will play into what NFT you might want to use as the underlying collateral. And we'll talk through exactly what all that means. But the short of what this screen is doing for you is if you don't repay your loan, you lose this underlying NFT. This is your incentive to repay. This is how we are able to coordinate loans between borrowers and lenders on a completely anonymous level. The NFT, the collateral, makes sure that incentives are aligned for all parties. Great, so we've chosen the OG and an OB. Does anyone have any questions on the collateral selection choice or what collateral means? No questions? All right, before I move on, can someone write a message in the office hours channel so I know you're listening and you can hear me? This is a test. Thank you, Sards. Thank you. You're all legends. I appreciate it. So I'm just gonna assume. Great question. Yes, thank you for that question. I'm going to assume that my explanations are so good that we're not prompting a lot of questions. Tableau, ETA, blow, Tableau, I don't know how to pronounce it, has asked a great question. Is Flowty holding the collateral? Okay, so we're skipping a little bit ahead, so we'll circle back to this again in the future. But once a loan is funded, I'm going to jump out of this so we can answer the question. If I, as a lender, thought that this Buddy Healed loan was attractive, I would come to this and click the fund button. And we'll run through this process. I'm going quickly. And then what would happen is tokens would be transferred to the borrower. They get their loan. The underlying NFT is held in a smart contract. So it is something that we designed as a platform, but something that is completely independent and out of our control. The smart contract has two instructions. If the borrower repays the loan, send the NFT back to the borrower. If the borrower doesn't repay the loan by the end of the duration, and here's the duration, then send the NFT to the lender. And that's it. There's nothing that we can do to intervene with that process. We don't need to give approval for the contract to do that. We don't need to instruct the contract to do that. In fact, we can't even stop the contract from doing that. It is completely outside of our control. And so, importantly, on both sides of the equation there, if you are the borrower and you know your loan is due tomorrow, and you said, exactly, it's all on Flow, it's in a smart contract. Technically, the way it works, actually, it's quite interesting. The NFT is not owned by anyone. Like if you go to the underlying NFT and look who the owner is, it just says unknown on the blockchain. There's no owner of the NFT until the transaction is resolved, either by a repayment or by a default, which means the borrower does not repay the loan in time. And it's important that we have no say in that because you as a user don't even have to trust Flowty. You do have to trust that we built our contracts correctly, but you don't have to trust that we are going to resolve the loan in a certain way. It has pre-stated, predetermined instructions that we can't interrupt. And it's that, that's the whole ethos of Web3 and blockchain. You don't need Flowty's approval for the transaction. We are simply the writer of the contract, and that's it. And so we'll go into more of this, what default means, what situations play out, but I wanted to get to that question first. eTableau. Um, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to jump in at any time. Hopefully that addressed your questions. And thank you for the question. Makes my job more fun. Okay, so now we've chosen our collateral. We've done OG and an OB, so I want to make sure I move slowly and not fly through anything here. And just for the record, Austin, our CTO, would want me to note the collateral loading screen process will be much faster over the next couple of weeks. Okay, you've chosen your collateral, you click next, you get to this somewhat insane looking screen. This is the most important part of today's teaching, explaining what the hell does all of this mean. So I'm going to go through it one by one and just ask that you try and think of this on a component by component level. If you look at the whole image, it is confusing, it is weird, but each kind of component adds up to being necessary and being useful. And I will walk you through why. So the top left section under borrower perspective, this gray box is exactly what it sounds like. This will be as the borrower, your experience. Everything else around here is purely informational. This is your experience. And so the first thing you are choosing as the borrower is what token do you want to borrow? And so you can choose between 4 different tokens here. We're not going to spend the time going through what each of them is, but you can choose these 4. One of these 4. The next section is called borrower receives. What that means is very, very simply, if a lender fills this loan, how much money will I get? How much crypto will I get? And so if you as a borrower need to borrow $150, you would put in 150 here. Okay, and so this is basically another way to think of borrower receives is how much money do you want to borrow? The next question is what interest do you want to pay on your loan? And so this is a percentage. And so let's say you want to pay 5% interest for a 60-day loan. Okay, now I'm just making an example here. If anyone wants to see any other numbers or anything else, just let me know and I'm happy to pop those in, or you can follow along on your screen. What we've done now is we've put together a transaction where the borrower would receive $150. The borrower rate is 5%. The duration is 60 days. Those are the only inputs you need. And so the rest of this page auto-populates. And so we'll go through what that means. But before we do, I just want to talk about the overall transaction. What we're doing here is we are adding a listing to the marketplace. And the listing will look exactly like this. You can see that sort of matches what you see in the marketplace. And a peer of yours, it's a peer-to-peer transaction, will need to come along and fill this loan. And so your task as a borrower is to determine how much you want to borrow, but make it such that the lender would view this as an attractive loan. And so if you go and say, I want to take this OG Ananobi moment and borrow $40,000, that may not be an attractive loan to a lender. That basically means that if a lender funds this loan, you will receive $40,000 and you can actually keep that. The only way the lender would get repaid is if you decide to pay back. And if you don't pay back, you are losing an underlying moment that is estimated to be worth $300. And so from a lender's perspective, it's probably not a great idea. Our users are allowed to do whatever they want, but it may not be a good idea for them to make a $40,000 loan against a moment that's worth $300. Why? Because the borrower isn't incentivized to repay the loan. The borrower is now looking at a situation where they have to repay $42,000, which we can talk about where that number comes from, but $42,000 in order to get back this NFT that's worth $300. In all likelihood, if it's a financially motivated borrower, they will not repay that loan. And so the question is, what is an appropriate loan amount? That's a great question. Let's kind of run through each of these components. And as part of this sort of presentation, I'm going to send through another article. This article is how to value and price loan listings, and it's part of our Flowty blog Git book. This walks through each of the components, which we'll go through now, and how you might want to think about them as a borrower. Now, importantly, our borrowers are allowed to do whatever they want. We simply build tools our borrowers can do what they want, but we can help people think through it. So there are three components to think about here. One, how much you're borrowing. Two, how much you're paying the lender for lending you money. Three, how long you want to repay the loan. So the first one, borrower receives. The two key things to think about here, again, in our view, is one, how much money you actually need, how much money you want to borrow, and two, what is the value of the underlying asset. Now, the second part, the value of the underlying asset, is important for exactly the reasons we've been talking about. From a lender's perspective, they need to know that the underlying NFT is valuable enough that it incentivizes you as a borrower to repay the loan. And if you don't repay the loan, that the lender is actually in a decent position. And so what does that mean? This underlying asset is worth, according to Moment Ranks, that's the MR here, $293. From a lender's perspective, that's an important number. You want the borrower to want to repay the loan in order to get this NFT back. So as an example, if the borrower wanted to borrow $500, the lender would have to put in $527.50, and the borrower would have to repay $525. We'll talk about how those numbers all work together in a second. Would a borrower want to repay $525 in order to get back a $293 asset? Maybe. It's possible they love the underlying asset. It's possible the asset went up in value during the term of the loan. But as a lender, that might be an unlikely thing. It's quite possible the borrower says, I don't want to repay that loan. And so then you as a lender have to think, would I put up $527 today, knowing it's unlikely the borrower is incentivized to repay the loan, and then I'm going to actually get a $293 loan in exchange for $293 underlying NFT in exchange for $527? And the answer is probably not. We don't know. We don't know what our users are going to do. But you want to think about, you're looking for a loan here. How do you make it attractive to a lender? So this loan amount, we want to make sure is attractive to a lender. And one metric we have included here is this MRLTV. It is, in this example, 36%. And this is a good rule of thumb to think through, will this be an attractive loan to a lender? I want a loan. I want to convince a lender this is an attractive loan. What is a good LTV to think about here, a loan to value here compared to the value of the underlying asset? So the way this is calculated is the loan amount divided by the value of the underlying asset is the loan to value. And so the lower the loan to value, the safer a loan is for a lender. And so some lenders might be looking for 20% loan to value. Some of them might be looking for 50%. Some of them 75%. We don't know. As a platform, it's not our decision to dictate who is comfortable with what, but that's what this number means. And so if I were to go to 200, suddenly we're looking at a 72% LTV. If I were to go to 300, we're looking at 108% LTV. That number is meaningful for lenders, and so keep that in mind when you're making a loan. Now, to Bullfrogger's point in the chat, $293 is one platform, Moment Ranks, estimate of the value of an underlying moment. You as a lender should make sure that you believe that estimate, that you're comfortable with that estimate. There are differing values on opinions. There are serials that may be valued higher than others. There are lots and lots of different considerations. So you as a lender should make sure you're comfortable with the 293. Yes, Moment Ranks, now known as Collective. We still call it MRLTV. CLTV doesn't sound as cool. We may change that over time. And so ultimately, the question is, what should the borrower receives amount be? And it should be you should be considering what you need and is this sufficiently attractive for a lender? Now, the second input here, the rate, the interest rate, this is a tool you can use to make it attractive to a lender. Let's say I want to borrow $125, for example, and you say, okay, this is a 45% LTV. Will this be attractive to a lender? Now, you need 60 days to repay the loan. You have an upcoming paycheck, you have a short-term expense, but you're getting paid, anything like that. You'll have access to funds within 60 days. So you need 60 days. You want to borrow 125. This is your lever that you can use to convince lenders to fund your loan. So you can say, all right, I'll pay 10%. Maybe a lender will find that attractive. And Sarge, you asked earlier, do lenders like high interest and high LTV, low interest, low LTV, low loan amount, longer loans, shorter loans, whatever it is? It really varies. And so what I'm going to do right now actually is jump out of this screen and show one different screen. So this is our answer to what should these inputs be. So remember, we have borrower receives, borrower rate, and duration. So I'm going to close this right now. If you go to the activity feed, right up here, there's an activity button. You can then click loans and you set the filter to funded. What this is going to do is this will show you every loan that's ever been funded on Flowty. And so this gives you an idea. You can look at what the rate is on these loans, what the LTV is on these loans, what the length of the loans are, what the amounts are, what the underlying asset is. And so this gives you an idea of what types of loans our lenders appear to be comfortable lending against. Nice. Trevor, which ones are yours? We can click into one as an example. And so all of these you can select, you can click into it. And so just as an example, we can click this O'Shea Brissett. I think O'Shea. And this shows lots of information. This shows basically from the lender's perspective, importantly, what the loan amount was, what the repayment amount theoretically is, what the interest rate is, what the length of the loan is, and what the LTV is. And so this gives you, as the user, when you're thinking through what loan you want to do, some guidance. This is what people like to lend against. Now, it varies. Sometimes the underlying moment impacts it. Sometimes the size of the loan impacts it. Sometimes the length of the loan impacts it. But there is some guidance for you as a user. Sarge, great question. Yeah, if you see anything unusual like a 1,000% LTV, in all likelihood, it's a test by us. So here we go. Sarge, this is what you're talking about? Yes, this was a test that we ran ourselves just to make sure everything was working properly. And so as you're going through the new loan process, think about what you've seen in the activity feed. Think about what lenders have done and what they might like, and that'll help guide your decision. So we saw a lot in the 45%, 55%, 60% range. So what we can do is aim for 50% LTV, just as an example. And so if you want to do that, call it, 140, and we're going to choose 5% and 60 days, whatever it is. Great. And so those terms might be attractive to a lender. We'd see. If you want a loan to get funded faster, make it more attractive. Call it 7%, make it 30 days, so on and so forth. So those are your key decision points here. And so you know what you need to borrow. You know how long you can borrow it for. What you need to pick is the underlying NFT that can hopefully support the loan and the interest rate. So now you've made your decisions. What are all these other numbers on the screen? Okay, so this is important and it gets a little bit complicated, so please ask questions if you have. First one, borrower APR. This is very simply an annualized version of the 7%. So right now we have 7% over 30 days. If I said we're going to do 150 days, it's a longer loan. So the annualized version of 7% is 17%. Now, some people like to think of it in terms of the interest rate you're paying for the 150-day loan. Some people prefer to think of it as what's the annual equivalent. We provide both those numbers. And so look to this number, see if it makes sense. This is also another number you can look at from the activity feed. Then the borrower repayment is how much you as the borrower will have to repay. So you, if this transaction is funded by a lender, will receive $140. Then the 150-day timer will start, and you have therefore 150 days to repay $149.80. And that is the transaction from your perspective. If this is funded, you get $140. You then have 150 days to repay $149.80. If you do not repay that amount within 150 days, you will lose this underlying NFT. This will get transferred to the lender. Okay, now we have some other information. So first we have this box in the bottom left. What is this? What this is telling you is how do you get from I, as the borrower, only receiving $140 to the marketplace preview, what the lender sees being $147.98. And the answer to that is there are floaty fees and there are potential royalties, with the operative word being potential here. So let's run through it. $140, well, we can start here. The lender, if this is funded, would put in $147.98. Where does that money go? We get $147.98. 140 of that goes to the borrower, as we've talked about. Then 98 cents comes to us as a fee. And we can talk about how that's calculated. The easiest way to think about it is that it is 10% of the interest. Borrower is paying $9.80 of the interest. We get 10% of that. Then the collection royalty. Now, this is a little bit confusing and kind of frustrating for us as the platform because it makes it very confusing for first-time users especially. This is something that's collected upfront out of the money the lender sends in. And if you as the borrower repay, the lender gets this back. If you don't repay, this actually goes to Dapper and Top Shot as a royalty. And the reason we have that is if you don't repay your loan, the lender gets the NFT, and in the eyes of Dapper, that is essentially a sale of the underlying asset. This person has transferred you $140, you've transferred them an NFT, and so therefore there is a royalty on that transaction in the same way there is in the Top Shot marketplace. And so, interestingly, we have to collect that upfront. And so if it's repaid, then we can run through the numbers here. So you're the borrower, you repay $149.80, and then our smart contract packages that up with this $7 royalty, and therefore the lender would get back $156.80. $7 plus $149.80, and so therefore the lender experience is they would put in $147.98, and either they get repaid $156.80, which again is the borrower repayment plus the royalty being returned, or they would get this underlying NFT. And so even though there's a lot of complexity behind the scenes, I like to hide this and say, don't worry about this. If you're the borrower, you get $140, you owe back $149.80. If you're the lender, you put in $147.98 and you get back $156.80. If there isn't a repayment, the NFT is transferred, and that's it. I'm providing all this detail so everyone understands what's going on behind the scenes, but we really do think it's a simple transaction if you just break it down to borrower wants to borrow this amount, will repay this amount, lender puts in this amount, would get repaid this amount. If there isn't a repayment, NFT gets transferred. Okay, so that is the borrower side of the transaction. You put up these terms, it gets added to our marketplace. You can, if you want, as a borrower, check the box that would enable auto repayment. What the hell does that mean? What that means is if at the time of the loan expiration, the default of the loan, you haven't yet repaid the loan, but you have enough tokens in your wallet that you could have repaid the loan, and enough tokens of the same token currency that the loan is in, importantly, we will automatically repay that loan for you if you opt into this auto repayment. Now, we always encourage people to opt in for that because theoretically what can happen is 4 hours before your repayment of a loan, it's possible Flow as a blockchain goes down, Blockto goes down, Flowty has some sort of issue, but for some reason or another, you can't functionally come in and manually repay your loan. In that case, as long as you have enough tokens in your wallet and you have checked this button, you'll be good to go. So we encourage two things. First of all, please do check this box. Secondly, we don't want people to rely on this box. Even if you have this checked, we encourage people to still do a manual repayment just in case something goes wrong. We don't want people to have accidental issues, accidental forfeiture of NFTs. Yes, so SARS, you have to have enough of the right tokens. If it's a USDC loan, we can't take USDT to repay. We can't take FUSD, we can't take Flow. It has to be the exact token that you would have sent back to the lender. And that applies to any repayment at all. So you would then enable auto repayment. Then we have these key terms. We want you to read this. This lets you know if you don't fully repay this loan, you lose the collateral. Important. We also note a smart contract could theoretically have issues. We have not had any issues so far, thankfully. It could happen. It's a smart contract. It happens, and we will do our best to assist our users in that case, but we're just letting you know it could happen. And third, if you lose access to your account, if something goes wrong, we can't do anything. This goes back to the fact that the collateral is held in a smart contract that we can't intervene with. It's important for the functionality of the platform. It also means that we can't help you in the sense that if you lose access to your wallet, if your loan is due tomorrow and you're getting a paycheck on Tuesday next week, unfortunately, we can't extend the length of the loan. We can't do anything. Now, we are working on features that add more flexibility, we'll say. So always don't just give up necessarily. You can always ask us if there's anything we can do to help, but it's not our decision what happens. The fourth one here is just the token price fluctuation, which isn't worth the time, and then just terms of service and policy. So great, you agree to the terms, you click next, then you get a summary of the entire transaction, and that's it. So just in the interest of time, I'm flying through this. Once you've added a new listing to the marketplace, here is where it goes. So right now we have examples of loans in the marketplace. And it's important as a borrower to think through, what does this look like for a lender? So let's say you've just put up a loan and you assume if you put up a loan, you want it to get filled. You want to borrow money. That's why you're doing it in the first place. You can look around. Have I made it attractive enough? What else is out here in the marketplace? If you're a lender, would I want to fund that loan? And there's a few different ways you can think of it. So just as an example, we're now going to show the lender experience. So if you're a lender, you come to the landing page, great, you've connected your wallet, similar to what we did before. You would then come to the marketplace and you can browse the listings to see what you like, what you find interesting, what you're comfortable lending against. And so just to review what the deal is if you're the lender, let's say you like this Steph Curry hollow icon, Series 2. You would click into it from the marketplace. So again, you come here, you click into it, and you would see, what is this asset? And you can click View Asset right here, and it would bring you right to the Top Shot page. Then this is the properties of the asset. It's a Steph Curry moment. It's hollow icon from Series 2. It's a legendary tier asset. Here's the serial number. Cool. What does all this mean up here? This means you would put in $3,185.70 today in USDC. And either you would get repaid 3,507 or you would get the underlying NFT. And that's the whole deal. The rest of this is just information. This is the embedded loan rate you're getting is 10.09%. So that's how much return you would get on your capital if there's a repayment. The annualized version of that is 30.68%. The length of the loan is 120 days. And the easy way to think of that is the borrower has 120 days to repay me. If they don't repay me, I get the Steph Curry. The LTV is very simply the loan amount divided by moment ranks view on the underlying asset. So in this case, it's 40%. And so I don't know what that means, like 9,000, 9,500 bucks. I don't know. Someone can do the math for me if you want. And that's basically saying if moment ranks is 100% accurate and the value falls by 60% and the loan defaults, you would be getting a moment back that is worth the amount of money that you put out for the loan. And so you have a pretty good cushion compared to the value of the underlying asset. Now, again, to Bullfrogger's point earlier, always make sure you check that you're comfortable with the valuation of the asset. This is a third-party valuation tool, and it's not something we have control of. And yeah, there are outliers, there are exceptions, there are issues. So just make sure you've done your research. You can click View Asset and see transactions that have been done. You can see the lowest ask. You can do whatever research you want. The last thing in here is auto repayment. This tells you whether or not the borrower has opted in for auto repayment. And that's just further information. You can do with that information what you want. And we have our little reminder down here. Of course, there's no guarantee you will receive the repayment amount. If the borrower doesn't repay, if they default, you will receive the collateral instead of a repayment. And so just from a terminology standpoint, we call a borrower not repaying within 120 days a loan default. And a loan default leads to the NFT going to the lender. And that is the basics of the transaction. If you want to see kind of historical transactions, as I mentioned before, you can go to the activity tab, see loans, see transactions. So this loan right here, Bowl number 39, was not repaid just now. That's what settled means. And so that means this NFT was transferred to the lender. The lender had put up a $527 loan. We have a glitch there. Dro, if you're paying attention, we have a little bit of a glitch. I am going to screenshot this because we have two different tokens. Chris, I'm just sending this to you so we can look at that later. Sards asks, can I repay a loan early? Yes, you can repay a loan early. So in terms of the contract settlement, the contract will send the NFT back to you as a borrower in the same blockchain transaction as a repayment. And so if you go and repay a loan, so I don't have a loan outstanding. How can I do this? Okay. Well, we'll go to that in a second. But if you repay a loan early, you get your NFT back right away. It's part of literally the same blockchain transaction. The tokens leave your wallet, the NFT comes back to your wallet. I don't have any outstanding loans, so I can't really show you what it looks like, but we'll get to how you get to your outstanding loans in just a minute. So anyway, this is the activity tab. You can filter by settled, which is defaulted loans, effectively. Funded are active loans that haven't been repaid or haven't been defaulted. Repaid are repaid loans, those are borrower repaid, and listed are actively listed in the marketplace right now. So that's how you can navigate around here. And yeah, you can't sort by these, which is by design. We want it to be by start date. We may add filters and sorts in here. We'll get to that. Just further navigation around here. This is your loan, your wallet balance up here. So this is showing you have 230 of flow tokens and $3,607 worth of stablecoin tokens. If you want the detail, just click flow tokens, FUSD, USDC, USDT. Awesome. Okay. Further navigation. If you want to see your activity as a user, this is global activity, all activity. If you want user activity, you go to this drop down menu on your wallet and click activity. And we have two sub tabs here, loans and rentals. And just as a note, we are working on some UI upgrades for the profile to make it more intuitive, to make it a little bit cleaner. But you can see we have an activity tab, a borrower tab, and a lender tab. Activity is everything that you do on your platform, on your profile in the loan category. So this is funded, listed, repaid, and it's all activity. It doesn't carry over a state. Meaning that you might see the same NFT twice here. Here's Courtney Vandersloot, number 117, twice. It was funded and then repaid. And then we can go to the borrower tab. So the borrower tab is everything you've done as a borrower. And so if you want to see loans that are outstanding, that you still need to repay, you can go to filter, funded, because remember that means active, and it would show you what's active and outstanding. You can show repaid, which are loans that have been repaid. You can show listed, which are loans that you have listed. I don't have any listed right now. If you are a lender, you can go through and see exactly what was funded by you. And so I can see, if I want to see I've funded loans, great. Let's see what the status is on these. You can click it. It's funded. It expires in 96 days on November 16th. If it doesn't get repaid, I will get this underlying asset. So again, if you want to see your activity, you go to drop-down menu here, activity. This is more just general activity, everything you've done, just a constant tracker. Borrower and lender tabs are specific to your action. So if you are a borrower, if you are receiving tokens and putting up collateral, you'll want to look through the borrower tab and filter how you want, or you can just browse. If you are a lender, you want to look through the lender tab. And I think that is what I was hoping to cover today. I'm going to actually look at our announcement to make sure I haven't missed anything. Freaking headache over here. All right. That's it. That is it on my side. What else we got? Let's get some more questions. I'm here for 12 more minutes. I am going to have a sip of water. We'll have to do the 9 Lives Lounge session later. That's a good question. Ming Dynasty Vaz asks a great question. Are you considering allowing borrowers to repay earlier with less interest? The answer is yes. We're working on a number of enhancements to loans and rentals today, and that is something that, if not now, will be added in the future. Different structures for loans, dynamic repayments, absolutely. It is, it's a consideration. From right now, it favors the lender's perspective. The lender knows exactly what they would get back. We could, there could be in-between structures where a lender, a borrower can say there's no prepayment allowed, and that might be more attractive for a lender. And so we'll probably make it user-driven, where a borrower can decide if they want to enable early repayment or not. But as of now, it's not available. And that's a great question. Yeah, that can work. Look, I work in corporate finance. One of the ways that lenders try and protect themselves to ensure they get a minimum amount of interest is there are prepayment periods where if you prepay early, you might pay a fee, or you're not allowed to pay for 30 days of 90 days, something like that, where on day 31 you can start repaying, but there's a minimum amount of interest. And so certain flexibility like that we can build in. So eTablet asked, will the TSS or Top Shot score be removed when putting it into Blockdo? We do not like to answer those questions because we've heard mixed feedback from the Dapper team. It's also something that's not under our control. And so we ask the users just try and research what the latest rules are from Dapper regarding withdrawing moments and how that impacts Top Shot score. It's something that's out of our control, and so it's hard for us to stand behind, and so we don't love to answer that question. Bullfrogger, great. So Bullfrogger asks, is there an easier way to negotiate on the way? The easiest and best way would be an offer system that allows lenders to basically say, I'm still sharing, I think here, yeah. It's probably been boring forever. Sorry. That allows lenders to come along and say, I like this loan, but I think, excuse me, I would be more comfortable if it was 80, hiccups now, perfect. I think I'd be more comfortable if this was 80 days instead of 120 days, and to basically propose those terms. Yes, that is in the works. For now, we encourage everyone to come to the Discord, and obviously it's not perfect, but that will allow more of an offer system and hopefully add an element of kind of flexibility to the ecosystem, and especially allow kind of power lenders to establish norms where they say, here are kind of the terms I would normally do, and to show you, I'm just going to offer that to you. And so we do think that's important. We don't have any plans to add like a chat feature or anything like that that introduces a lot of kind of risk and potential issues and scams and whatnot. So that's probably not happening anytime soon, but offers are certainly in the works, to use your terms. What other questions we got? My voice is getting all hoarse. Just in time for my NLL stream. I see we have our CTO in the house. If anyone wants to ask any fun technical questions that are over my pay grade. Yeah, so Bullfrog, that's a good question. Effectively, what you're asking is, are there ways to kind of directly reach a borrower from a listing? Today, the kind of best way to do that is to do a little blockchain forensics, we'll call it. So you can go to the list view and see the wallet of the counterparty. This is a nifty little trick, and you can. This is not that easy. We're working on this. You can copy the wallet address. You kind of have to hover over it like that, what I just did, and then copy the address. And then you can go to, this is an interesting process. So what I'm going to do, sorry to whoever this is, here is the wallet address I just copied. Here is a website called FlowScan. If you drop the wallet address into FlowScan, you can go to transfers and see what wallet they have sent Top Shot moments to this wallet from. And
you're only sharing Flowty, by the way. I don't know if
yeah. I'm going to share this in a second because I'm actually looking for the answer here. Yeah. Okay, this wallet is. I don't think this wallet's a great example. I'm going to try another wallet. Just give me one moment. All right, let's try. There we go. Here we go. So what this is going to allow me to do is if you use FlowScan and go to the transfers tab, you can see what wallets this user has moved Top Shot moments between. And effectively what you can do is you can then take the wallet that they have sent the Top Shot moment from to this wallet. So basically the sending wallet that brought the Top Shot moment to this wallet. And you can drop it into live token. I'm going to send that in. If you drop the wallet address into live token, you can get a Top Shot user ID. So effectively, step one, go get the counterparty wallet from the list view on our marketplace. So marketplace, list view, copy this wallet. Step two, go to FlowScan, which it's not letting me share right now. Go to FlowScan, go to transfers, and identify which wallet. I don't know why I can't share this with you guys. Maybe actually if I go into Windows mode, give me one moment. Okay, hold on one sec. I'm going to reshare here. Screen, window. Great. Okay, so step one, copy an address. Step two, paste the address here in FlowScan. I've sent all the links that we're using. Step three, go to transfers from assets. And step four, okay, so you can see the first transaction here is this wallet has received a Top Shot moment from this wallet. And so some users you might have to roll down a little bit, but this is the exact type of transaction you're looking for. Then grab this wallet. I think everyone can see FlowScan right now. Bullfrog, you're paying attention here. Can you see FlowScan on my screen right now? Okay, great. So then what you're going to do is take this address and go to Live Token. And from Live Token, you're going to go to Tools, Account Lookup now. Drop in that address, look up. And this is the user called FOMO. And then we leave it up to you to find the user. One way you can do it is if you go to your own collection and you go to FOMO, you just replace your name with the user you found. Sometimes users have a Twitter or a Discord connection here, and so you can find them that way. So it's quite a process, but effectively, one, grab wallet address from Flowty. Two, use wallet address on FlowScan. Three, really search. Three, go to transfers on FlowScan. Four, find a transaction that is copy the address of the paste into there it is, a little directions. Thank you, Ming Dynasty. We could flex a little bit. Here we go. Here's my Vince Carter All-Star Game dunk jersey. I just traded a ton of things for it. Quite excited about it. I appreciate the shout out there. Okay, so there we go. What other questions we got? Ming Dynasty talking smack in the Top Shot channel. Any other questions? What else we got? We have one more minute of the scheduled time, and so I'll try keep to that, but if anyone has any questions, of course, happy to stick around. All right, I'll give it another 30 seconds. All right, so I think that's it. So this was a recorded session. I will never watch it myself because I can't hear myself recorded. I think I have an odd voice, and no one likes to hear their own voice. And so I will not be watching, but if you want to watch, please feel free. It'll be posted in the Flowty Videos channel, which I will link to here. And thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate you jumping in. We all appreciate it. We're going to drop in the float one more time. There it is in the office hours channel. Go grab that. I'm going to go grab it myself right now because floats are cool and fun. And I think that is it as I grab the float. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thank you for the questions. If anyone ever has any other questions, just drop them in the Discord, ping us on Twitter, whatever and however you like. We are here to serve.